Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be giving my first impressions and my first thoughts on the Iron Thorns meme deck. So this is a bit of a strange one because, to be honest, when they announced that they were going to give a future deck as a deck that appears on the Battle Pass, the Premium Pass to be more specific, I honestly thought they would give us more of a actual future box deck and not Iron Thorns. Bit strange, but you know, it is what it is. Iron Thorns is a very fun card, and I did want to cover it eventually. Also, do note this is not the last Iron Thorns video I'll make. I will return to this guy eventually, but aside from online where you get all the cards for virtually free, this isn't like a strictly cheap deck, so I can't really call this a budget deck. If anything, it's just a rogue meme deck, I guess. Iron Thorns, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but for those of you who are not very familiar with this card just yet, it's 140 HP lightning type, which is surprisingly fantastic because it means you can hit weakness on Palkia, which is running around for some reason. It's also a future Pokemon, which is very important because we can take advantage of all the new future support. And it has two pretty decent attacks. Megaton Lariat doing 140 isn't too shabby, especially not in the mirror match when you can want to KO Iron Thorns without the risk of not being able to KO them back with your first attack, which is quite nice. But mainly we are here for the first attack. So for a lightning colorless, Destructive Press says reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, and this attack does 70 for each future card you find there. Then you discard those future cards that you did 70 damage for each one, and then you shuffle the other cards that are not future back into your deck. So you actually keep your deck consistent. So you never discard Research or Super Rod or cards that are quite important to making the deck work. However, what you do discard is your damage output, which is why this is a meme deck, effectively. And, we're discarding the top 5. There's potential that we whiff, funnily enough. So there will be turns where you don't actually do any damage, which is a bit problematic. You could definitely ramp up the Pokemon count in this deck to include more future stuff. But personally, it seems to be okay as it is. And, the more you mill out, and then the more you play stuff like Super Rod, then the more chances you have of actually discarding future cards. But either way, the attack is very flippant, but we can modify the damage pretty easily with Iron Crown, which increases our damage output by plus 20. Now, Iron Crown is actually a double-edged sword because even though it increases our damage by plus 20, in of itself, it's a future card. So we might as well leave it in the deck to discard it and do an extra 70 damage, which is, kind of the main purpose of Iron Crown, to be fair. It's just another damage modifier either way. And we do have Miraidon, which we do get away with playing 3 copies of because it's a fantastic energy acceleration. Fumbling my words all the time now, but it's fantastic energy acceleration for single colors, so lightning or psychic in this deck. Deals 40 damage, then you can search your deck for up to 2 basic energy and attach them to your future Pokemon in any way you like. And what I've been able to do with this guy is actually accelerate psychic energy to itself, so you can threaten Sparking Strike on the next turn to do 160. Which can be modified into 180 very easily with stuff like Iron Crowns and the Future Capsule to do plus 20. So what you can then say is, well, if you don't deal with this card, then I might boss your Squawkabilly or boss your Luminion and KO that. So Miraidon, very, very nice card. Also, just with Iron Crown and the Future Capsule, we can essentially modify Peak Acceleration. I love how it's called Peak Acceleration, by the way. But yeah, Peak Acceleration goes from 40 to 60, and then even to 80 potentially, which will KO basically all Evolving Basics. So, fantastic. Well, Evolving Basic, they're not V Pokemon, I guess, if you want to be pedantic. But yeah, so that leaves one more Pokemon that we haven't really talked about, and that is this Iron Valiant. I still like this card in the deck because it's effectively just another single prize attacker that we can run, and we can kind of call in on a pinch. Most of the other future prize single prize attackers, and that was a weird sentence, but yeah, all the other future prize single prize attackers, basically all of those guys, they're kind of a bit awkward to play with. Like Iron Treads costing metal colors to use its attack. It's a bit awkward. But yeah, Iron Valiant is quite nice. Gemini Laser doing 20... Gemini Laser doing 20 damage and then 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Isn't super great in the late game because, Manaphy is a thing. But if our opponent doesn't think we're playing it and they never bench Manaphy, then fantastic. So yeah, just a quite nice poke option. And of course, can again be modified with stuff like Iron Crown. So yeah, that's quite nice. So as for the trainers, we have the generic stuff like Iona Research. We also have 4 copies of a new Cypher Maniacs Code Breaking, which is a bonkers title. They could have just called this Code Breaker or something. That would have been better. But either way, search your deck for 2 cards, shuffle your deck, and put those cards on the top of it in any order. So typically what this will be is just more fodder for Iron Thorns, plus 70. However, what we can do is search our deck for 2 future cards and guarantee, an Iron Thorns doing at least 140, which is enough sometimes if you're going for a 2-hit KO. So yeah, fantastic card overall and definitely great in this deck. We also play for the capsule just to modify damage by plus 20, which is great. So typically, because we're only playing 2 Iono, we're kind of relying on our opponent also playing an Iono occasionally, just to shuffle dead future cards from our hand back into our deck to then discard them. However, Capsule is a nice one because we can just attach it whenever, really, and just get benefit from it. So very nice card. Also acts as a float stone to Iron Crown, which is nice. So yeah, Capsule, definitely a very nice card. 2 Boss's Orders, just because we actually need to be gusting and carrying most bench Pokemon. Also playing 4 Generator in this deck because there really is no way to accelerate energy without using like that weird reboot pod card that's the new ace spec for future cards, but I'm not actually at that point on the ladder yet, so haven't got that card. But yeah, Electro Generator, fantastic card. Also, you could use the Codebreaker Ciphering to find 2 Lightning Energy. I have done that once or twice. So yeah, that's quite a nice option to have. But the last main future card we can talk about is Techno Radar. Just discard a card from your hand, search your deck for 2 future Pokemon. This card is a bit of a double-edged sword. You don't really want to be playing all 4 of your copies because if you do that, then you're removing a lot of Pokemon from your deck. And realistically, what this deck wants to do is actually just swing with Miraidon, turn 1 going second, set up a bunch of Iron Thorns, bench more Iron Thorns, manually attach to them, and you should be able to keep up that way. With Generator, you don't actually need to be, pulling loads and loads of Pokemon out your deck all the time, because if you do that, you're then, reducing your overall damage output. So that's just something I've found, at least, with playing this deck a bunch. So yeah, Super Rod, also just very important for this deck. You can't really cut Super Rod at all. This is kind of like why this deck runs, basically. Without it, it wouldn't be functional. I will say that I haven't used Super Rod to recover energy at all. I mean, I'm playing 13 copies, but yeah, Super Rod, definitely very important for getting back Pokemon. If they ever reprint, what's it called? Like the weird Ash item that shuffled back 5 Pokemon, that would be fantastic for this deck. But yeah, for now we're stuck with Super Rod, but still, pretty good option for shuffling back Pokemon. I also modified the starting list to include 2 XP share, just because it just helps keep energy in play. Truth be told, I haven't used this card a bunch, so, it's kind of like one of those, if you don't like it, then you can remove it cards, but yeah, it's a nice option. It's also worth mentioning, if you do have the reboot pod, you could remove like 2 XP share for a reboot pod plus something else. I don't know what you'd add, maybe a 3rd boss, another Pokemon, something like that, but yeah. The XP share definitely helps a little bit with keeping energy in play. As for the energy themselves, we have 1 basic Psychic, just so we can actually attack with Miraidon in those weird turns and get a surprise KO potentially. You could add more Psychic, you could cut the Psychic, but I quite like having it in there. It is a meme deck, I wanted to embrace it, so 1 Psychic, 11 Lightning Energy, because we do need to hit some Generators occasionally, and 1 copy of Jet Energy, which is kind of just here if we need to use Generator. And then maybe we use Miraidon, attach 2 energy to 2 different Iron Thorns. Then we can just Jet Energy one of them into the active spot. So quite a nice option. And of course, you could play more Jet Energy. So that's it for Iron Thorns. I probably won't take much more of a look at this deck. I'll probably do a couple more games with it. Maybe put them on YouTube, maybe not. But probably, dismantle this, build something else. Let me know what you think of this deck down below. And of course, what decks you would like to see from the new set. Because I've come up with potentially 40 new deck ideas, which is kind of insane, really. But yeah, 40 new deck ideas, including some remasters of previous cards that weren't that good before the set. But yeah, either way, I'm happy to do deck ideas because I'll probably not cover every idea I have anyway. So might as well do things that people suggest. So, let me know what you think down below. Have you got any suggestions? And yeah, thank you for watching. Okay, so this isn't technically the first game that I've played with this deck. I did play the deck very recently, but unfortunately that video was corrupted. Not by TCG Live, funnily enough, which is a bit of a weird thing to say. I think TCG Live is responsible for most of the glitches within this game. However, it was not actually TCG Live's fault for a change. It was, in fact, my recording software just cut out on me, which is hilarious. So if you were paying attention to the last game, if I decide to include it in the final video, then yeah, that's what happened. The end of the video was just kind of like smooshed off. Now, rather frustratingly, that does also mean that you don't see the outcome of that game, which I lost anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I did go down to one prize card, which I'm happy with, but, at the end of the day, it just wasn't a super great game. And, it was just in a mirror match as well, so we were both basically playing the same 60 cards, which I guess is interesting to some people, but I personally prefer it when, it's a bit more different, a bit more unique. But yeah, I don't really know what we're up against. That's a big thing, actually. I don't know what I'm playing against. The Mulligans suggested I'm playing against, like, okay, there's a Dark Patch and a Palkia. So, okay, what is that? It's a Squawkabilly, okay. So, classic TCG Live move. Okay, that kind of sucks. I liked the Future Booster capsule there, but it's fine. It's fine. So, it does kind of suck that we don't really have anything going for us right now, but at the very least, our opponent is choosing to bench Palkia, which does happen to be weak to Lightning, which is fantastic for us, of course. So we do stand a moderately good chance of doing well in this game. I'm not sure what our opponent is going for here. So Radiant Greninja, okay. So they probably don't play another Squawkabilly, otherwise that's what they would have gone for. But okay, so they shuffle back their Ono, so they won't ever see those cards again. But yeah, thankfully for us, our opponent is somewhat dead drawing, so we can just go ahead and use Generator. We do whiff, which sucks. I would have liked to have hit that and get a surprise cheeky KO, which would have been nice, but we'll not use Pokestop because we have a finite amount of resources in this deck, most of which are pretty important, because if we can't discard feature cards, then we lose, effectively. So, yeah, kind of important. But I will ramp the Lightning and the Psychic Energy. All I'm going to do is actually... I could attach them to the active spot. I could do that. In fact, why not threaten that, actually? Yeah, okay, I quite like this idea. So this effectively means our opponent can't really boss their way out of this. It also means we can use Jet Energy if they decide to boss Iron Crown. And we can also just attach a Lightning to our active Rhydon and use Sparking Stripe for the KO. So, or Sparking Strike, I should say. So I'm quite happy with the position we are in. Of course, my opponent is currently dead drawing. They do have Pokestop, and they do have Radiant Greninja, and they do have Iono. So that's a bit unfortunate. I would have liked to have kept those Lightning Energy just to keep up with attachments, but we seem to have found one again. So yeah, not too much of an issue. So our opponent is playing Roaring Moon. I'm confused as to what the synergy here is because, well, I guess you accelerate one with Palkia and then Dark Patch Manual, but yeah, what's the synergy here? This seems a bit odd, but I don't know. I guess our questions will be answered at some point when we see this deck in action, but my opponent is just bricking, and I'm not complaining. So, okay, so we're doing 60, so that takes it to 120. Capsule will take it to 140, which isn't fantastic. We could actually do this. So I'm going to fiddle the top deck so we get Lightning Energy. So we'll go all the way to Lightning, and it says top bottom, which is a bit confusing, but it basically just means the card that will be seen first, which is fine. Also, shoutouts to the card designers for giving it the most ridiculous name, but So then we can attach a Lightning Energy to the active spot. So this is an instance where doing 160 for 3 energy on a single price Pokemon is actually quite scary. And with an Iron Crown and a Capsule, then, that's actually really solid damage. So that's fantastic. And we can just accelerate an energy here and an energy here. So yeah, things are going fairly well for us. Now, our opponent did have a slow start, of course. So, maybe this would have been a lot different if my opponent had, obviously drawn very well. But, we'll have to see how this game progresses. If my opponent can, form a bit of a comeback with Roaring Moon. And they do want to attack with Roaring Moon because this thing, I should say, is weak to Lightning. So, of course, Iron Thorns is just going to go in there and hopefully tear up some Palkias. However, they do have a Sada. What that does tell me, though, is that they don't have another Roaring Moon, at least not yet. So they will Nest Ball for another one, probably. But they didn't have the Nest Ball beforehand, so they couldn't have used, double Sada, effectively. Get 2 uses out of it. So this one will be able to attack us, which is a bit annoying. and they will probably choose not to discard the stadium. Do you have to discard the stadium? I can't remember, actually. It's been a while since I played Roaring Moon. Let me see the card. You may discard a stadium. Okay, so they don't actually have to get rid of their own Pokestop, which is a bit annoying, to be honest. And just means they can just do the flat 120. Bruh. Which is quite frustrating. However, our game plan at this point is KO Roaring Moon, KO Palkia. So what I might do is just boss this turn. Yeah, I might just boss this turn, actually. Okay, that's quite good. So if they use their... Yeah, if they use their first attack, then we can just finish them off with a Valiant. That's quite nice, actually. So this is where things get a little bit dicey, actually, if we're not able to... Yeah, because there's no guarantee that I actually KO Palkia. It's a good point. I will need to hit 2 future cards, which... I don't know, that might be asking too much of this deck. It might be. We'll do Capsule, though. And then we'll do... Yeah, we'll just wait to boss Palkia. I mean, Palkia is a bit of a threat, but... We'll see how this goes. I probably... Well, I might need more Miraidons, actually. I won't need another Valiant. And I won't need another Techno Radars, so... Yeah, we'll just put them on the top of the deck, and we'll see how this goes. And then... Boom. Hopefully, this is good damage. Please be good damage. That was very good damage. Okay, 1 KO. Fantastic. So we do lose 4 future cards, which is a bit of a problem because it means the last 2 prize cards are going to be quite difficult, but we'll see how this goes. Hopefully our opponent can't really power up one of these in a single turn. I mean, they can with, you know, Switch, Dark Patch, Starter. It is possible to do it, but we'll have to see if they... Okay, we're getting a bit risky here, going for the Palkia. If I did have Cryptomaniac, keep going Crypto, Codebreaker. If I did have Codebreaker, I would actually have the KO on board with this Iron Thorns, but sadly we don't have that just yet. And of course, my opponent might be going for a very different play, where they, you know, switch out and attack with Roaring Moon again, so that would of course be very annoying. However, they would have to use Frenzied Gouging, and then at that point, we just need 1 energy on Iron Valiant to KO them. So I think we're in a very good position to win this game. We've kind of been on top the whole game, which I know some people will see this and go, oh, that's a terrible example of a game. But to be honest, I'm going to take this over a trampling loss to Charizard. So yeah, sols. Play more games in the future anyway. Pokestop, and that's... Okay, that's kind of annoying. I do have the Dark Patch, so they will get the KO with Calamity Storm. Yep, double Dark Patch. Okay, rub it in. So this is their revenge, I guess. They probably have a switch in hand. I mean, they probably do, right? They do? Question mark? Do they have a switch? They have Prime Capture. Okay, interesting. So I haven't actually acquired any Prime Catchers just yet. So, fortunately for us, I mean, yeah, even if they do... Wait, let's see what attack they use. I mean, oh, no, actually, what am I saying? They can... We have weakness. Actually, we have weakness. Never mind. I was going to say maybe they use Frenzy Gouging here, but they don't have to because they just get the KO anyway with Calamity Storm. So, okay, that's fine. It'd be quite funny if I throw this game, but yeah. Well, not funny, but, you know. We do have Iron Thorns. We're still in a good position, I think. Destructive Press can definitely carry us through the last few KOs, but, you know, we do actually have to get a bit lucky, so we'll see. There's also a world where I just swing into this Roaring Moon and then just boss the next turn, so maybe that's just a better play overall, to be honest. Yeah, I quite like that idea. So we just... Okay, there's an energy on Greninja, which is a bit scary. Okay, fair enough. Honestly, I don't think the 90 snipe to 2 Pokemon really makes much of a difference in this matchup, just because of how tanky we are, but... Okay, discard your stadium, fine, whatever. Pretty sure you have to discard it there. But we will just play this, and then all we really need to do is... I don't necessarily want to play... Oh, no. I just want to keep boss, really. Like, boss is the main one. I really do need to hit some good damage, though. And Super Rod. Yeah, I will Super Rod, actually. We'll Super Rod. Not great sequencing, but we'll see. Get back some Pokemon. Miraidon. Anything else? We don't really need anything else, actually, but Iron Valiant, I guess. So hopefully this increases our odds of, you know, actually hitting one of these. And then Skadoosh, question mark? Probably not enough. It's never enough. Okay, decent damage. Decent damage. And that is actually enough to KO because we had the capsule on. All right, okay, nice. Didn't think that would be enough to KO, but yeah. Quite happy about that. I wasn't strictly sure if that was enough damage at first, but I guess if it's 70 times 3, then it's 210, and then, yeah, the capsule made all the difference. So yeah, that's great. Pretty decent.